Four in the key.
Welcome to Four in the Key. This is our initial pilot episode. My name is Dara, and I'll be your host. First of all, I'd like to introduce you to my panel. We have Grant Smith, University of Oregon, Jackson Muniz, San Diego State University, and Dylan Altman, also University of Oregon. This podcast is going to take you through current events throughout the new cycle of the NBA, stemming from the NBA draft, free agency, trade speculations, and everything of that such. And without further ado, let's get into things. So, as we know, the draft happened this past Wednesday, and many things, including LaMelo Ball getting taken third and a bunch of trade deals going on, happened. So let's just bring to light some of the three big winners of the four big winners actually of the draft. First, we have the Spurs. They didn't have much draft capital, but they started out with Devin Vassell, small forward out of Florida State. He's a great body. He's still growing into his body, 6'7", 200. So he's very lengthy. He can add some defensive presence to a team that's lacking that of. And they also picked up Trey Jones, definitely an experienced point guard with a lot of playing time at Duke University. He's only a sophomore, but his older brother played Tyus Jones in the NBA, and Pop looks like he knows what to do with him. And Grant, you were excited about the man from Israel. Tell us about the Wizards. Who they pick up?
Oh, Denny slid all the way to 9. I mean, I thought Chicago was going to take him at 4. I mean, the top 3 we kind of knew was going to be in whatever order: Edwards, Wiseman, Ball. A lot less trading at the top of the draft than we expected because, there weren't many, surefire hits at that top. It was more of like a level draft. So a lot of people like Minnesota kind of wanted to trade their pick. They were shopping right until the buzzer. Then they just picked Edwards. So I think they were actually big losers. I think we'll get to that later. But they really just did not want the first pick. They didn't want that pressure of picking the wrong guy. They ended up with Edwards, who's a really good talent. But we don't know what that fit. Defensively, that team looks like they're going to struggle still. Still really young, but they're going to struggle. And then Denny sliding to 9. I mean, Chicago at 4 just seemed like a lock. And they went and took another small forward. I mean, his shooting's a little suspect, as is a lot of guys coming up, like, LaMelo as well. Dylan can go in about that. I mean, Dylan does not like LaMelo's shooting, but a lot of guys have struggles with their percentages. But, Denny's got experience overseas, not, the same pedigree as Luka, but I mean, he won an MVP in his league, 3-time champion already, and he's not even in the NBA yet. So I think that professional experience is very underrated. And I think he's going to be able to come in the league and fit.
Right. And I mean, the Knicks, when we all saw them slip to 8 in the lottery, we were like, oh, the Knicks again, getting unlucky. But Dylan, you really like Toppin at 8. Tell me about that.
I think he's the best player in the draft. I mean, He was best player in college, and he slid all the way down to 8. I think that he's a great two-way player. I mean, there's not much not to like about him. He's a professional. He's a leader. And I think that's really what's important for a team like the Knicks is they need that guy to come in and really change the organization. So hopefully it works out for them.
I love that he's a hometown kid too. That's pretty sick.
It is a hometown kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
they'll trade him in 3 years, thinking they're going to sign KD again. So it's don't worry about Obi.
It'll be worth it then.
They never let their guys truly pan out. And last but not least, we have the Pistons. They had a lot of draft capital. Jackson, what do you think of guys Killian Hayes, Isaiah Stewart, Sadiq Bey, all in their first year on the Pistons? What do you think?
I love Sadiq Bey, man. He's my guy. He should
NBA ready.
The Spurs should have drafted him, but they didn't. It's okay. He's the definition of a 3-and-D guy. He should just stand in the corner all day, nail his threes. Good defender, like I said, 3-and-D. And then Killian Hayes, I'm not too sure about him. He's big point guard. I thought it was a risky move, but I also don't think Detroit has a good history of developing guys, but we'll see. I think they took some good guys that have potential.
Detroit really, they let the biggest potential player on their roster walk in Thon Maker.
Oh, you already know.
He's supposedly only 23 years old. I don't know why they let him walk, but fun fact, back-to-back years top 10, Detroit drafted a guy from France.
Oh.
Doumbouya, now Killian.
That's different.
One of them's got to be healthy.
I hope so. If Blake
And,
Griffin's healthy, that team's interesting. That team is interesting. Are they good? No, but they're interesting.
They're in the
But-
East.
let's
They
bring
are
up
in the
the.
Anything can happen in the East.
And when they get Fred VanVleet as well,
When they pay him
Oh,
$25 million a year,
look out. Detroit top 4.
when they give Fred a max.
Yes. Exactly.
Let's take it a step further and look at I think the biggest loser of the draft day would be the Celtics. I mean, coming in with the 14th to 26th and the 30th overall pick, you got 3 first rounders, and you're telling me you guys come out with Aaron Naismith from Colorado, Creighton, my grandpa Pritchard from Oregon,
From where?
And
Repeat yourself.
Yam Madar from Israel. So they got the other Israeli guy.
Oh,
Wow.
Israeli Patrick Beverly, according to some pro comps.
I mean, I don't know how you could have messed up 3 first round picks more than that. What do you guys think about the Celtics? I mean, originally had drafted Desmond Bane at 30, but those rights going to Memphis.
That would have been that would have been good for them.
Yeah. What do you think that the Celtics kind of constant rebuilding and stashing guys?
I don't know what they're doing. Like, we saw what happened with the Lakers last year at the time of the AD trade. It was, they gave up Ingram, who was an all-star, great player. Oh, Josh Hart, a great role player who can just seem to fit anywhere. You could kind of take anyone like that. Any team can use him. Lonzo still has high potential. Oh my God, they gave up so much. It doesn't matter when you win. When you win the championship, it does not matter how much you give up.
Right.
Like, you could go to other sports where the Cubs had Aroldis Chapman for 2 months. They gave up an all-star. They won. It's fine. If you win your ring, that's you won the trade.
Right.
They got the best player. Boston, for years, it seems now, ever since they've recovered from that trade.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what they're doing. Like, are you rebuilding? Do you want young player? Do you want to win? What are we doing? It's just, I don't know what their direction is at this point. Like, they refuse to trade Jaylen Brown for any star. He needs to be the next coming of Jesus at this point. No, Jaylen Brown for AD. No, like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing.
I completely feel that.
Yeah, and like you got to pick a direction, like you said. You got to go for the championship or you go for rebuild. I feel like they're right there with Tatum, Brown, and Kemba. That's a good core to build around.
Yeah.
But you either got to trade those picks for
And they've got money now.
top pick, or you got to trade it for some players that can help you win right now. And they didn't do either of those things.
Yeah, great point, Grant. We're gonna get to the reason why they have a lot of money. Big news today surrounding Gordon Hayward opting out of his player option.
For whatever reason. This is a great graphic. Whoever designed this deserves a lot in life. So this graphic, depicts Nicholas Batum running away with over $27 million from the Charlotte Hornets organization. And chasing him away is the best perimeter defender in the league, against Dort, who has one of the biggest bargain contracts in the league. And, I mean, we all remember the infamous 2016 offseason. Yeah. Guys like Timofey Mozgov.
Oh, don't remind us.
They got money. Jan Mahimi, one of my favorites, he got a lot of money. A lot of people got paid. Mike Conley got the 5 years, $153 million. And believe it or not, he's going to opt in to his $4.5 million option.
Only?
Yeah, I mean, I'm shocked. He could have gotten, $2 million to play in Charlotte, but,
he just
$4.5 million to be the 6th seed in Utah.
Sat around with his family and just really contemplated the tough decisions that come with these.
I'm sure it was a brutal decision him and his agent had. They said, look, you can get $10 million max on the open market or $34.5 million. So,
but you have to stay in Utah.
Yeah, it's just a great basketball town.
So let's bring up some of the player options that are just really puzzling, and how these guys have still managed to milk out the last years of their contract without really caring about their standing and reputation.
Well, the man, on the graphic, Nicholas Batum, he was always solid in Portland. He was a good player in Portland, and I guess Charlotte, you go there, your career dies.
Right.
DeMar DeRozan, again, still an effective player, DeMar DeRozan, but in the West, he doesn't cut it as an all-star. Shot 35 threes last year. His game, like, where are we going with this? $27 million, he opted in. Interesting. I don't think he was going to get paid. I don't know many teams. Apparently the Lakers were shopping him, but $27 million for DeRozan's skill set. And going towards that, Andre Drummond as well, almost $29 million. Same thing. The big man can't shoot. What is that worth in today's NBA? Like, we don't know. It's definitely not worth $29 million. But he opted in with Cleveland. And again, that's another team. We don't know what direction they're going. With them without LeBron, that is the most lost organization of all time. Maybe second. But, we don't know. Otto Porter, $28.5 million. That's when the Nets were famously throwing max contracts at every restricted free agent.
Correct.
And the Wizards matched that and then threw him into Chicago. Tim Hardaway Jr., notorious shot chucker, $19 million.
Yeah, he kind of peaked in the freshman-sophomore All-Star game.
Yeah, that was a fun one. Kelly Olynyk, $13.6 million.
You see, that's the thing.
Kelly Olynyk is not worth. James Johnson, $16 million.
What do these teams think when they
James Johnson
pay these premiums in these off seasons?
Tony Snell.
It's got to be a reaction, right?
Well, that's when the cap was projected to just skyrocket. So there's a lot of these weird inflated contracts. But with all this going on, some robbery, if you will, all is good in the world because Mario Hezonja accepted his option for under $2 million.
That goes to show. That just truly goes to show.
The former lottery pick, just a class act Mario Hezonja is, takes his player option for $1,977,011 to remain in Portland. What a great guy, because he knows no one will pay him on the open market.
He knows his career will have most likely ended.
He peaked when he dunked on Giannis, and a fun fact about that game, those were the only points he scored that game because he's Mario. But he's making $2 million more than me. Good for him.
Well, talking about,
I think it's very entertaining.
Making some money moves and making some big moves. Dylan, you want to lead us into the trade segment to see what's happened this past couple weeks?
Yes. So obviously with the accelerated processing and whatnot, we're already seeing trades flying through. And the first one that we heard about was Dennis Schroeder to Los Angeles. And OKC in return got Danny Green, who they later shipped out to Philly.
Laker legend.
And a first-round pick, which ended up being Jaden McDaniels.
Wow.
But starting there, this is what you need to do when you want to repeat and you want to be champions again. You go out and you get players. Schroeder, younger, shot better, great pick and roll this year. Catch and shoot this year. He shot really well. But yeah, Grant, what do you think about this deal, being a Clippers fan and seeing this happen?
So when I looked at it, I'm like, what are they doing? Like, I'm sure they could have gotten more, but they had to have known what they were going to do with Danny Green when they accepted the trade. Because clearly OKC's done worrying about, we're going to build their rebuild mode. Let's get every pick we can get. So, I was like, what are we doing just getting Danny Green who, in my opinion, deserved Sixth Man of the Year over the other two Clippers? That's a very valuable asset who's not, old by any means. But then they flip, and people are going to make fun of the Al Horford contract. Every Philly fan hates him, just an albatross contract. They signed him just to get him away from Boston. They had no fit for Al Horford. They just keep getting picks. That's all they're going to do. And they can eat the salary because I've been telling everybody, OKC's internally rebuilding. They're not going to sign people because they have, 16, 17 first-round picks the next 5 years. Thanks to this guy. Appreciate him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They have all these picks, and now it's Al Horford contract. They can match that, throw in any amount of picks they want, and go get whoever they want on the trade market.
Yeah.
So, if you look at this in just by itself, not a great trade for OKC, but in the long run of things, just keep getting your assets.
Yeah. Well, they're going to be in the position that Boston found themselves in this year. They're going to have multiple picks every single year, and as long as they're able to hit on a couple of those early on and build around some guys, they're going to have a lot of options down the road.
And we gave him a future All-Star.
My brother's a big Thunder fan. He's already said that the Thunder are guaranteed to repeat within the next 7 years. It's a pretty bold statement.
Very bold statement. That's like saying the Clippers would get out of the second round.
Yeah.
I have seen though a lot of hype on these high school prospects, and they do look a little more of a different breed than we've seen lately.
Yeah, they're ridiculous.
Well, I think it's gonna be interesting to see what happens, with how COVID's going to affect these next couple of classes that are coming up.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a season. No one's going to know any of these guys. They're not going to have their senior years. So might be a lot of under the radar guys coming up.
I don't know about a three-peat in the next 7 years, but they do have a very bright future, let alone all the assets. They've got really good young talent on their roster already.
Dort.
Shea, Dort, Baisley. They've got a veteran in Adams who can kind of hold everything together. They've got assets.
Dylan, what else happened in the West this past week?
So the next trade that happened was we saw Robert Covington to Portland. In return, Houston got Ariza, the 16th pick, and a 2020 protected first rounder. Rocco has been traded for, what was it, 1 or 2 first round picks in the last 2 years?
Yeah.
Twice,
Four.
yeah. So,
He's got 4 first round
like
picks.
2 months.
I think the guys like Rocco are basically gonna turn into being the new bigs in the league. The fact that guys over 6'10" seem to not be able to shoot the ball at a consistent rate, with leaving just units of players like PJ Tucker and Robert Covington kind of availabilities to play the big and show teams that the couple rebounds that they'll miss here and there are analytically, they're not as important as all those open threes and the spacing of the floor they're going to do. So I'm not necessarily sure if these teams are kind of thinking long-term at all anymore. They're really just trying to think what they can do to beat the contender that year. And that's kind of what I see in this Rocco deal. Doesn't really look like Portland believes that any sort of future can supplement what they already have. So they're trying to go all in. I mean, they got the highest payroll in the entire league. And Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, and Robert Covington. That doesn't look like it's going to cut it in today's West.
Especially in the West. But
I think to Dara's point, this trade demonstrates that the NBA is switching to positionless basketball. I mean, like you said, he's not that big. He's what, 6'6", 6'7".
6'7".
Yeah, and you're seeing a lot of these. He's going to be probably the 4 guy and the 4 guy,
like
and
normal 5, yeah.
be able to shoot threes, play good defense, and that's what the way the NBA is these days.
Yeah, we saw Morey's experiment definitely didn't work. You know, when you see a guy like Davis, who again isn't that good of a shooter statistically speaking, but in the playoffs, I mean, he did not miss jump shots. Like, he was elite from mid-range, elite from 3. When you have a guy like that hitting with his size, he's unstoppable. And if you don't have a big man, your only big man's Tyson Chandler, it's not going to work. So that experiment failed. But when my prime example of, these big men, it's guys like the Morris brothers. They both came up as small forwards. If you want, like, technically they were both small forwards. Marcus Morris is now a 4, occasionally plays the 5. And Markieff
played our small ball 5. Yeah.
He splits his time at the 4 and the 5. So with positionless basketball, I mean, JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard, for example, Dwight got completely played out of the Houston series.
I remember.
They dominated Houston, but he got played completely out of that series. JaVale in the finals barely touched the floor. It all depends on the matchups. In the regular season, I mean, JaVale was the primary starter and barely even in the rotation by the time they're in the finals. So guys like Rocco, they're pretty much the future of the power forward position, but it's pretty much you got your point guard, you got your wings, you got your center. That's it.
Right. And bringing us to our blockbuster trade, I would say, of the offseason so far, Drew Holiday. I mean, talk about underrated basketball players. There's the stars that didn't get rings that people call underrated. Then there's like Drew Holiday, who's just night in, night out, a complete problem. We heard reports that the Pelicans didn't want to trade him to a team in the West because they didn't want to play him multiple times a year. That's like kind of the most respect you can have for a player. Dylan, what do you think this does for Giannis's chances of staying in Milwaukee?
Oh, it's a great fit. He plays great defense and he's a great shooter. And I think this is more of just a commitment thing. This is telling Giannis, we want you here. We're going to do whatever it takes to keep you here. So come and sign that Supermax deal and stay in Milwaukee. And I mean, either you do that or, you start from scratch and This could either prove to be a great deal for Milwaukee, and it could lead them to a finals and potentially a championship, or it could just be
Giannis ships could have already sailed, and
he's
they
going
could
to
just
Miami.
be getting duped. So,
Yeah, it's a really because they overpaid. They overpaid for Drew Holiday. 3 firsts, 2 pick swaps. They know they overpaid. Drew and Giannis are both free agents next year. This was
right.
an all-in move, like Dylan said. You're here, you're staying with us, or from scratch. They know that. They're like, you know what, we're going to commit to our star. We're going to show him we're willing to make moves to get you a ring in Milwaukee. Sign the Supermax. If it doesn't work, fair play to the front office for making that effort.
Yeah, and what do you think that says about Giannis? I mean, if he's in the East and he can't win a ring with Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, a great coach, and a deep bench.
Regular season coach.
Yeah.
30 minutes a game, Giannis.
Yeah, I think he hasn't even made a finals yet. I mean,
Yeah.
The last 2 years, you have big favorites.
They have to make the finals this year at least.
Oh yeah, if they don't make the finals this year, Giannis is just he's packed his bags already, but he'll be out the door.
Oh yeah. But I think he stays now. I mean, there's like the grow, and again, we don't know about these rumors or whatever, but they're saying, he's going to sign the Supermax in the next week. And a guy like Giannis, we all know his upbringing. He did a lot for his family just to put food on the table. He did everything he could. When you see that money in front of you, it's really hard to say no. Even me, I think anyone sees that number and they go, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but I like what they're doing. I hope it works for them because I think it's just good for the league to see a guy like Giannis stay in a small market like Milwaukee.
But at the same time, if they don't make the finals, doesn't most of the blame fall on Giannis? I mean, that would be 3 years in a row that they're big favorites and they don't make the finals. Why would he be leaving to go where? It's his team.
Mm-hmm.
Because go ahead, Dylan.
Maybe he is the Scottie Pippen that I was Jay Williams that said that.
Yeah,
he might be.
Well, it's a weird thing because Giannis leads the league in usage, and then with 5 minutes left in the fourth, it's Chris Middleton time, and you just can't do that to Chris Middleton.
Yeah,
he gets a lot of disrespect because again they gave him a bag to keep him because it's hard to keep guys in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I think it was the past decade, the guy with the highest usage rate is not on a championship team because you can't have Chris Middleton sit around for 3.5 quarters. It's like, we're down 5 in game 7. Here, Chris, go ahead, buddy. Can't do that. So We'll see how it goes. But hopefully, Budenholzer plays as good players and doesn't have a 15-man rotation in the playoffs. We'll see how that goes.
The big winner of this trade for sure is New Orleans, right? I mean, George Hill, Bledsoe, 3 first-round picks.
David Griffin knows.
Zion Williamson.
David Griffin knows what he's doing down there.
You gotta love what they're doing.
For the Pelicans, they have a bright future. Just all of their best players are Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram's definitely less than 25 years old. So Brandon Ingram, all their best players are under 25.
Mm-hmm.
All their best players are on really good contracts. I think Derek Favors just became a free agent this offseason, so that's good. He's one of the worst players in the league. And I mean, the picks they got from the Lakers, the first-round picks they got from the Lakers, the first-round picks they got
30th pick.
Yeah, I mean, it's still those guys up there.
No, it is 100% an asset. You can get a great player like Kyle Kuzma late in the first round.
Yeah, we'll see how he does this year.
He's a fantastic player.
I think the Pelicans, their parallel of young team that's really bright and upcoming in the Western Conference is the topic of our next trade. You want to give us that one, Dylan?
Yes. So CP3 to the Valley. This is actually my favorite trade.
And Abdel Nader.
Yeah, and Abdel Nader.
Thank you.
This is actually my favorite trade that went down. So we obviously CP3, Abdel Nader for Ricky Rubio, Kelly Oubre, who are both going to other teams, Ty Jerome, Jalen LeCue, and a 2022 first-round pick. CP3, floor general. This was his comeback year, I guess, from the injuries that he had in Houston. Huge contract, but he's the man. I mean, he was
1 year left, right?
Yes, I believe so. Or is it 2?
I'll double check. I'll fact check while you guys get into it.
But I mean, there's not a lot that you can say wrong or bad about CP3. I think around a young nucleus, he showed that he can really bring the best out of the talent that's around him. And I think a guy like Devin Booker, who can just shoot the lights out next to a ball handling, general like CP3 is just a perfect fit, and it makes them contending when they weren't contending before.
Yeah, they should make the playoffs, barring injuries. Like the team looks good.
And but barring any DeAndre Ayton suspensions.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
The cheater,
The 45-year-old.
DeAndre Ayton.
You guys really think they're locking it?
Chris Paul has 2 years under contract, and then it's done.
So Ricky Rubio going to, I'm sorry, where did he go to?
Minnesota.
Yes,
Went back.
Minnesota.
So he's back in Minnesota. Kelly Oubre's finalizing right now to go to the Cheaters, the Warriors.
Yeah, high rumblings. It's not official, but that's probably what's going to happen.
And what we see here is kind of a replica of last season. Chris Paul goes to a young team with a young good guard and a big man who's dominant in the paint. And
now Ayton, don't compare Ayton to Steven Adams.
Offensively, DeAndre Ayton's a different breed than Steven Adams. I mean, defensively, obviously, Steven Adams just brings a different level of expertise. But we look at things. I think that was Game 6 or Game 7 where Steven Adams just I don't know.
Speaking of Game 7s, and this kind of leads into what I was going to say. We saw a guy like Lou Dort who shot abysmal from the field that entire series, score 30 points because Chris Paul told him, keep shooting. He instills confidence like that into young guys. And when he showed that, you saw Shea go from 10 points a game his rookie year to 20. You see what Chris Paul can do and instill confidence. He's just a great player, regardless of, he's going to yell at everyone. Okay. He brings the best out of people, specifically big men. David West had some of his best years with Chris Paul. DeAndre Jordan was an all-NBA player with Chris Paul.
Lob City.
Look what he does with big men. So Ayton should have a great year. We're going to see how his game changes because last year he took a lot of jumpers in the mid-range. I don't know if he's going to be doing that with Chris Paul. He's going to be a lot more involved in the pick and roll, but I think he's going to have a great year.
Yeah.
To Grant's point, I mean, let's not forget, ESPN had the Thunder at like a 0.5%
chance. 2% chance to make it.
Look what he did with all those young guys. And the Suns roster, I think, it has a lot more promise than that Thunder roster did. I'm really curious to see him work his magic with Phoenix.
I like to kind of look back at what CP3 did with the Rockets. I mean, the Rockets were as close as the Clippers were to the Western Conference Finals as the Rockets were to the NBA Finals when they blew that 3-1 lead. And I think that with CP3 playing alongside Harden, that kind of showed his capability with a dominant shooting guard. And if he's able to kind of emulate that same kind of success he had with a two guard that's just needs the ball in his hands to score, which was James Harden. Now Devin Booker doesn't really need the ball in his hands to score. I think he can do a lot more. And let's talk about the biggest drama of the offseason.
That was uncalled for.
It is the biggest drama. Because if this happens, it's like giving an Infinity Gauntlet to Thanos, I think. I don't know.
I don't know if it's going to happen anymore.
I don't think it's going to happen either, but it's fun to talk about.
Because he very clearly wants out. Houston said, you have 2 more years. I mean, he declined 2 years, $103 million on an extension, so he clearly doesn't want to be there. And it's all the player empowerment. It's the era of player empowerment.
Right.
But he has multiple years under his contract. Anthony Davis, he did not have that. He had 1 year left, and they're saying, okay, we got to get assets for him. Kawhi Leonard going to Toronto. Oh, he's going to leave in free agent. Harden has multiple years left. Russell Westbrook has multiple years left. So if they can't get the right package, by all means, they should hold on to everyone. So I think it's very interesting.
Well, in the Rockets' perspective, do you think – well, obviously I do. I believe that James Harden could be the best player on a championship team. But with that being said, how can this Rockets team with this Rockets makeup around James Harden as the focal point, triple doubles, 50-point games, do you think that that's sustainable, or do you think they should really kind of look to get rid of someone who doesn't want to be on the team in the future. Get guys like shown in the graphic. Karis LeVert, that guy looked like an all-NBA third team in the playoffs.
Yeah, it has to be the package. It has to be the package. You can't just give up James Harden with multiple years left on his contract. As controversial of a player as he is, he's still an elite talent, all-NBA talent in the NBA. You can't just go, oh, he wants to leave, we'll give him away for pennies on the dollar. You can't do that. But having said that, Houston, as they're constructed right now, it's just they're not going to win a championship. Now they don't have Clint Capella because Daryl Morey wanted to have a little experiment. So it's a really tough position the Rockets are in, but I think, they have to play hardball, say we're not going to trade him, say they're not going to trade him, trade him.
Right.
And I think they have to wait. I think his in-season value will be much, much higher.
Yeah, when he's averaging 35.
And they would be smart to hold on to him, halfway to the season. Brooklyn will be in contention. Oh, we go get James Harden. That's our ticket to the finals.
Yeah. They got to get that best package possible. Exactly. That's a big trade. That's a great player you're trading.
Yeah, and if you do trade him, then you're sacrificing the next at least 3 or 4 years of your future. It means you got to get like you said, maximum value.
You got to look at a return like what the Nuggets got in return for Carmelo Anthony, something like that.
Or what the Thunder got for PG.
Yeah, or not what the Rockets got, or not what the Thunder got for Harden the first time.
Kevin Martin's a great player.
Kevin Martin, Jeremy Lamb, not a sufficient amount.
Adams, it turned into Steven Adams. Still not a good trade.
Yeah, so
but does Brooklyn even have anyone that's like that desirable that they'd be willing to part with?
The guys on the top of the graphic, because they said they're not trading Kyrie and Durant, obviously. Oh, yeah. That literally every other person on their roster they'd have to trade.
Well, is that a team you can build?
I don't think that's a champion. And again, in the East, those three guys on the bottom of that graphic, they'll get you far enough to the finals. But I think any team coming out of the West beats that team with just those three and no one else. They're going to have DeAndre Jordan too. It's just not enough depth.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe Harris is also a free agent. He's going to want to get paid. I don't know how you balance – if we just average those three out to $30 million a year, I don't know how you balance $90 million with Joe Harris's contract. I mean, doesn't really seem much of a financially viable option. So that'll be very, very interesting to see if he does stay, what the team is going to look like.
I think that if you're Houston, the only even deal I would look at would be trying to get Ben Simmons. If you want to start over and you want to redo the whole system, you go and get him. None of these guys are going to pan out to be anything special like of that nature. Ben Simmons could be the next like Magic.
Yeah,
for all we know.
Here's going to end up like best case scenario, a 3-time All-Star.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's averaging triple-double numbers.
Karis LeVert's not winning MVPs. Yeah.
I mean, the only way I could see them making a trade with Brooklyn is if they pull what Oklahoma City is doing now. They get a bunch of first-round picks and then they just trade.
It would have to be
get from Brooklyn as well and stockpile draft picks because these guys are going to beat the Lakers. They're not going to beat the Clippers. They're not going to beat all these other upcoming teams. That are the West is stacked.
Yeah,
and I think James Harden is their best ticket to the finals right now and in the next few years for sure. It's not even a question.
So with that being said, the actual free agents, Jackson, break it down for us.
So, I mean, the top one is the second guy in the middle for you, Anthony Davis.
I think he's going to the Hornets.
It'd be a shock if he leaves. Same with Brandon Ingram, obviously. I think in my opinion, the top guy in the market would be Fred VanVleet, who he finally got the start last year, career year. I mean, he was going off. I think he led the team scoring. I want to say he had like 18 points a game. And he said he wants to get paid, so he should have a lot of suitors for him.
Yeah.
I think Toronto drafted his replacement last night, and Malachi Flynn, very, very, very similar skill set, similar size. I think it's a hint that they're.
Ujiri is very savvy, so I mean, again, this free agency, it's really not star-studded. There's just a ton of glue guys available. Like
absolutely.
In the graphic, everyone wants Serge Ibaka. Every contending team could use Serge Ibaka.
Right.
Gordon Hayward is the opposite of going to a contending team. Apparently, the Knicks and Hawks want to pay him for whatever reason. But guys like Whiteside, again, I don't know how much Whiteside's going to be worth on the open market, but that's another glue guy. Like the DeRozans, the Drummonds, those guys, people aren't like – they're not heavily coveted. Guys like Ibaka, guys like Baines, those are the guys people are looking at.
But back to Van Fleet, I think I touched on it earlier. I think Van Fleet should try to go to Detroit because, you got a lot of these young guys that are coming. They did 3 picks in the top 20. You got Blake Griffin. He'll start right away. He'll be one of the main offensive options. But where do you guys think Van Fleet will fit in? Do you think he stays in Toronto? Or do you think he leaves?
A bad team in the East with cap. That's what I think. If it's either he stays, because he wants to get paid. So if they're not going to keep him, he's going to go to a team like the Knicks, the Pistons, get a massive contract, put up great numbers, and get the 12th seed. That's what I think he'll do.
Yeah, I think that Fred VanVleet probably will get the highest bag in the offseason this summer. But looking at the bigs, guys like Ibaka, guys like Harrell, if the Clippers don't hang on to Montrezl Harrell and they don't hang on to Marcus Morris, they're looking at the 5 seed. They're not contenders if they don't have that type of toughness.
Okay, so they're going to have their bird rights. JaMychal Green's also a really important piece that I always loved watching. He's very underrated on that Clippers team. He declined his option. I think they want to keep him and Morris. Harrell just tanked his value in the bubble. And I don't know what to blame because, he did have the passing of his grandmother. He was out of there for a month. His first day back out of quarantine was game 1 of the playoffs. So I don't want to make excuses for him. He was amazing for us the minute he got there. But the bubble, he was just not the same player. There was zero energy on any end of the floor. No offensive. He had nothing. So I don't know what he's going to be worth on the open market. I don't think the Clippers want to keep him. And I love Montrezl Harrell, but I don't want us to keep him because the whole problem was Ivica Zubac's not getting any minutes. And then the minute the playoffs start, he's getting 30-plus minutes a night. Doc completely mismanaged those rotations. He's gone. But, Harrell's a great player anywhere he goes, I think. And I think they're going to try and facilitate a sign and trade because you don't want to lose him for nothing.
Right.
They don't have much money to spend. So I think they try and keep Morris and Green, and they do their best to facilitate a sign and trade with Harrell. But I think they're going to be right back at the top of the West, barring Doc Rivers coming back as our head coach.
Well, I think as far as the Clippers go, I would take a long look at Ibaka.
Oh, yeah.
He's already played with Leonard. He's a huge locker room guy. Everyone who's ever played with him loves him. And it's not a secret that the Clippers have had some locker room issues. So I think he's a guy that could come in, just like you said, a glue guy, hold it together a little bit. And he would probably fill that void that Harrell.
Yeah, I think the Clippers' main target, everyone, talks about, the Clippers need a point guard. The Clippers need a point guard. As much as Dar is going to hate me for saying this, Patrick Beverley's a very serviceable point guard given the roster you have. You have so many guys that can control the ball like Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and then you have an all-defensive team point guard like Patrick Beverley who shoots the 3 at an elite clip. You don't really need, we need Rondo. They don't need Rondo. Their biggest need is another big who can play defense because when Zubac isn't on the floor, there is zero defense. They have great individual defenders on their team. They played horrible team defense in the playoffs. And Harrell being at center was the main catalyst for that. So if they get a guy like Ibaka, and again, I think that's going to be really tough unless there's a sign and trade with Harrell. I think an Aaron Baines is like a perfect target. That's what they need.
And then, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but Gordon Hayward declined his $34 million option for some reason today.
I think
Dylan, go ahead, Dar.
My belief behind Gordon Hayward declining that option is he looks at himself and he goes, I'm going to average 15, 5, and 5 again, getting paid $34 million, and then I'm never going to get another bag again. Or he tells a bad Eastern Conference team with a lot of money that, hey, I'm feeling good. I'm back to my all-star shape. Yeah. And he secures a long-term bag, maybe something along the lines of a 4 for 80, 4 for 100. And just solidifies $100 million more rather than, trying to go back on the market after having another average season in Boston, most likely.
Yeah, you could compare that to Harrison Barnes when he declined his player option in Sacramento.
Right.
He knew he was going to re-up it. So Hayward has to know because of the tampering, it's not well enforced. So he has to know.
It, though? He's going to get more than $34 million a year, you think?
I like what Dara said, and I didn't really think about it that way. His value after next season in Boston wouldn't be that high. But if he gets a, not 34 million average annual value, but another 4-year contract. I think that's what he's looking for. Because again, he's only 30 years old. So he'd rather have one more nice, good contract.
Right.
So I think that's his play. And Atlanta and New York are the two big targets right now.
Now Dylan, with AD 90, I don't want to put a number on it, but probably over 90% re-signing, the Lakers are going to be strapped at, I think the number seems to be around 115, 120 million. So no cap space. KCP thankfully opted in, did some real loyalty to the Lakers right there.
Sports, baby.
Yeah, and but with losing guys like McGee came back to what do you think the Lakers kind of need to do to revamp their roster, or do you think Dennis Schroeder and the opt-ins are enough?
I mean, Schroeder was a huge piece of that. You got your third scorer, and I think you just kind of try to run it back as much as possible. If you can get Bradley back on he wants a longer term deal, and that's the only reason he opted out. You get him for what, 3 years, 20 something. I think you just do it. You need wings and you need defenders. When you have 3 guys that are going to put up 65 or 68 average every game.
Schroeder, the third one?
Yeah. Okay. You just have other guys that are going to fill the need. And Kuzma, either, you know what, he plays great and you lose him.
Oh, he was amazing on Christmas. He was the best player on the planet on Christmas.
That's the thing is, he's got so much potential that, if you lose him, you lose him. And that's kind of basketball. That's how it happens. But
I think the hate from Kuzma comes from him being so good before. That's kind of what's ironic about it.
No, I hate him because he said he could shoot it over Jesus, and then he didn't make a shot for 7 games after that.
That's all-star mentality.
Ever since that video with a hot shower, it's just been downhill for Kuzma. But I think the Lakers' biggest need, in my opinion, is replacing Dwight Howard. I think he's going to get paid. He earned his money. He was perfect for the Lakers. And I don't know how, but they got to try and get an Ibaka type, a Baines type. They need to get that backup big void filled. Or in reality, I don't know if you guys want to start JaVale McGee again. Go see if you can get a nice center. Maybe throw in a mid-level exception. Somehow try and lure Ibaka in.
Yeah.
But I think the big is that roster is fine, except that's the thing you want to address. Because when you're a team who just won the championship, you're not looking, what void needs to be filled? What can we improve? You're not looking at, we need this, we need that. Now, how can we improve is the mentality they're going into free agency with.
And let's not forget, they have 2 of the best, probably top 3, top 4 players on the planet right now.
Right.
They don't have a lot of holes.
They don't have Thon Maker.
They don't have Thon Maker.
That's why they have 2 of the 3 best players on the planet.
Right. Thon Maker's a fun one. He's 23 years old. I think if he goes to a horrible Eastern Conference team, you might be able to put up numbers
on one.
Pistons are great. Oh, Christian Wood. That is a big free agent.
That is also a free agent.
Good free agent. Christian Wood was great this season.
Yeah, Christian Wood, he's just a versatile, big, super young, can shoot the lights out of the ball. I think that kind of should lead us off with the last free agent. I want to talk about Paul Millsap.
It's an interesting one.
Securing the bag, what he did in Denver, the 3 for
30 million a year.
Yeah, 3 for 90 was absurd. But now his time is up, and looks like Portland has his sights set on him. I definitely think he fits somewhere like that. A team vying for a playoff spot, looking for some veteran locker room leadership, 15, 20, 25 minutes a game. What do you guys think about Millsap?
Well, I just want, before we go on Millsap, so the Oubre to the Warriors is official, and the Thunder just got another first-round pick.
Oh,
24 protected first-round pick. So Oubre official.
2026 NBA champions, Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah, but Millsap's a really good glue guy, like we said, and again, he's not going to be getting paid $30 million.
Yeah.
So he's going to, I'm assuming, not be too worried about his contractual situation. He also is the reason that the Nuggets beat us, prick. Marcus Morris told him to go home, and that apparently, pissed off Paul Millsap. Anyways, I think Millsap's his skill set, he's aging, he's 6'8", but he can still shoot the ball, play solid defense. he was kind of the stretch four before the stretch fours. He was great in Atlanta.
True.
So we're going to see – I think Portland's the perfect fit for him. And, again, they're strapped on money, but I think mid-level exception. He's not going to be very expensive at this point in his career, given he just made that ridiculous amount of money. So I think he's a good – people, again, a big problem in today's NBA, people say, oh, Gordon Hayward's trash, Westbrook's trash. They're overpaid. They're not trash.
Right.
They're still valuable players given the right price tag, the right fit. So I'm excited for Paul Millsap and see where he goes.
Yeah, and Jackson, the last free agent you want to talk about?
Yeah, the most valuable player on the market right now, Davis Bertans, the stretch four, the
four-fingered sniper,
the four-fingered wonder. If I'm Brooklyn, I'm all in on this guy because you got two, guys in Kyrie and KD that are gonna draw a lot of attention. And if you can get Bertans some wide open looks, he's like a career 45, 46.
Oh, he could shoot the lights out. Just stand over the wing, shoot.
And you got to look at
he is
the threes that he makes. The threes that he makes are not like these wide open. They are like running off a curl fadeaway, like from the free throw line.
Duncan Robinson, but a big, just running.
Yeah, literally, he's Duncan Robinson, but big. That's a great comparison.
He's screw than James Harden. Go get Davis.
Yeah, that he would be a great fit for any team again with guys like Harden, Kyrie, who have so much gravity.
Yes,
you should have him standing wide open. So,
I see him on the Suns. Chris Paul.
Oh, they let Frank Kaminsky walk and Baines walk. They do need to fill the void of a big.
Yeah. They have they were do that with that pick. They had the 10th pick and they didn't use it.
They did, but
they used it. But when you're getting a guy like Chris Paul and you already have,
you want that now. You want it now
in the bubble. You want to win now. You want
Dario Saric, so I think Bertans would be a pretty good fit there. Chris Paul.
Chris Paul's still 30. How old is he?
33, 34.
Yeah, so he's not.
I think he's like 35 or 36 actually.
Chris Paul?
Let's see.
Yeah,
he's like 35, 36. Yeah,
35.
Yeah, no one beats Father Time. That's all I'm gonna say. That's the only problem with that trade is that he's a little older, and I mean that's one bad twist of an ankle or landing to call it quits. So they should go and get someone. That's a good signing for them.
Yeah,
definitely.
Or the Spurs should resign him because they never should have let him go in the first place.
Or Kawhi Leonard.
And that will bring us to the most exciting part of the podcast, in my opinion. This is our On This Day in History segment. Every release date that we have, we will have a On This Day in History just to always keep us reminded of every day in basketball is different and things can just come up like these three events. So we'll go one by one through the ones that we've selected for you, just to give you a little reminder in history.
Yep. So, I mean, go ahead.
I picked Shaq because this stat line is ridiculous. All right. You ready for it? 24 points, 28 rebounds, and 15 block shots. I mean, that's unheard of.
This is modern day NBA.
How did you do that? I don't care what time period. That is insane.
And I believe that was his rookie season or his second season.
Early. Definitely early.
Why would you compare him with the basketball?
Yeah. He's already got 14 blocks. He's not blocking this. Like,
yeah. How did they not stop at like 9? Like,
let's just shoot jumpers.
Let's just shoot threes from here on out.
Yeah.
And Grant, the unfortunate Clipper fan of the panel.
All right. I remember this one. I was watching at Dylan's apartment this game where Kawhi Leonard baptized Daniel Tice. That was a year ago today.
Ooh.
That was one of the best games I watched all regular season, just back and forth. Jason Tatum, every time he played the Clippers, there was another time later in the year, went to double or triple overtime. Tatum was amazing.
Yeah.
But, I just remember that was like Kawhi's first big moment on the Clippers. It was I still can't believe the Clippers actually got like a superstar caliber player. It still doesn't make sense to me, being a Clipper fan for 12, 13 years now. It's just like he wanted to play here, but that was like that was a big statement game because the Clippers started out the gates pretty suspect. They got that ridiculous opening night victory. That's one of our banners along with our Christmas win. I should get those hung up as well. But that was like a big statement game, and I just remember it really vividly. I really liked that game.
Yeah, that I'd remember that one, and I definitely prefer the one where Jason Tatum destroyed you guys in the latter part of the season. So 28 years ago today, Los Angeles Lakers defeated Michael Jordan and his 1992 Chicago Bulls. This is one of the years that the Bulls won the championship, I believe, and this just goes to show. I mean, 54 points by Michael Jordan, 67 shots combined between him and Scottie Pippen, and a 19.11 rebound performance from Vlade Divac to wipe it all up in overtime.
The best trade piece in NBA history right there.
The best trade piece in NBA history.
One of the worst front office members in NBA history. What a versatile guy he
An
is.
anomaly of a person, Vlade Divac.
Marvin Bagley's better than Luka Doncic in that man's head.
It still is. He still is.
Unbelievable.
Disrespect Bagels.
Well,
Bagels is the man. I love Marvin Bagley.
I wanted to thank you all for listening. This concludes our first podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Sorry if there were anything that we missed out and that you guys wanted to hear. But if you have any feedback, please shoot us an email or a DM, and we'll be more than happy to show it on our next episode. Thank you so much.